Lose my breath. No more fighting. Sinking to rise no more. Searching for that open door. What can I take in? Let the mind be free. And I don't know if I'm gonna make it. Nothing to do with my head. I look to you. I look to you. Yeah. And when all the stress is gone, and you can be gone.
Stop pushing buttons. Find out who that is, brother, and put them out.
And when melodies are gone, and you are here, I'm gone. I'm here.
To join to the sub-conference, number of sub-numbers from 1 to 9 to return to the conference. Turn to the conference. All participants are muted. All participants are muted, and they can unmute themselves.
If you can find out who that is and just put them out the room. Okay.
WV.
Okay, you got me in both rooms? Testing.
Located at 18070 Mount Our new salon station with adequate parking, Wi-Fi, and all brand new state-of-the-art salon equipment. Come meet your local hair braiders and natural hair care specialists, and check out our many hair services such as hair treatments, box braids, cornrows, true braids, cabana twists, children's braids, natural twists, lock extensions, kinky twists, gutter locks, updos, full weaves, and more. Please feel free to visit us on the web at www.sistersbraids.com or call 313-826-0498. Here at Sisters Braids, we offer exceptional care for exceptional hair. We look forward to seeing you. Sisters Braids 2 is a proud recipient of the Unity and Rebuilding Fund. SOS Graphic Design provides agency quality professional graphic design services from established companies to startups and individuals, creating a simple lookup to complete rebranding and delivering visual communications and print media. Everything SOS Graphic Design does has a single unifying objective to set your business apart. We are at your service. Call 313-342-2166. That's 313-342-2166 or online at www.solsgraphicdesigns.com. We would like to invite you to help support the efforts of the Unity and Rebuilding Fund. Visit the website at www.unityandrebuildingfund.com. That's www.unityandrebuildingfund.com. We often hear how we need to work together to rebuild the city, and we're actually doing it. You can make online donations and click on links to track the progress of the Unity and Rebuilding Fund. And for more information, 313-868-0000 is the local number. Again, 313-868-0000. Support the Unity and Rebuilding Fund. Now you can watch WHPR TV 33 on Fire Stick. Catch all of your favorites. Stay informed. Don't miss a minute of your favorite talk show. Call, text, tweet, post. WHPR TV 33 is worldwide on Fire Stick. For more information, go to FirestickTVNetwork.com or call us at 313-868-6612. WHPR TV 33, a Watson Broadcasting Company. The views and opinions expressed on the following show are not necessarily the views and opinions of WHPS, its affiliates, management, or sponsors. Brothers and sisters, are you tired of reading the Holy Scriptures and not really understanding what you've read? And if are you reasonably sure? Have you ever tested that what you feel?
The recording has started. This conference is being recorded.
Then let's talk to one another. Let's reason with one another. On Scriptural Discussion, the Son of Man, a live broadcast every Sunday at 12 noon on TV 33, FM 88.1 WHPR, and Comcast Cable. So why don't you call and let's discuss the Holy Bible, and if you have one, the Holy Quran, and come to an agreement about the Holy Scriptures and their true meaning. So tune in to Scriptural Discussion with the Son of Man every Sunday at 12 noon, right here on TV 33, FM 88.1 WHPR, and Comcast Cable. You can call in live on the air at area code 313-868-4336, 868-0342, and 868-0351. Of course, the area code is 313-868-4336, 868-0342, and 868-0351. And now let's go live. The Scriptural Discussion. Man.
In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful, the Truthful, and the Most Just. I greet all of you who are hungry and thirsty for the instruction in righteousness and their true understanding of them. I greet all of you with the greeting words of peace. May Allah's Salaam Alaikum. I want to give everyone the opportunity to save themselves. Because if you don't believe in me, you already condemned. So I want you to hear it straight from the mouth of one of the messengers that was prophesied to come right before I got here. And that was the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So this would be the closest one to show you this. So I've played it, I don't know how many times for you, but I'm going to play it again because I don't want nobody to have an excuse. This is something that everybody needs to hear.
Freedom to you. I'm Elijah Muhammad, the preacher of freedom, justice, and equality to you, my poor black people who have been lost in the wilderness of North America for the last 400 or more years. You, my dear beloved brothers and sisters that is listening to my voice on this album, I want that you pay good attention to it. I will substitute the judgment. Judgment has been taught, and we have been warned that it is a day coming that we all will be judged. And whosoever Allah has placed upon, that person have a great reward bestowed upon him. Because we live in a world guided by the open enemy, the devil himself. Therefore, being lost from our own people, wherein there was no one to teach us, no one to help us. All teachers was prevented from teaching us of very pitiable condition, our father, belly, when captured by our enemies, the open devil in our native land. Through this defeat, here we are today on trial before the God who will judge us all. Who will this God be? The Son of Man, both Bible and Holy Quran declares. He will be a man, a son from a man, Son of Man. Not a former spirit that the scientists, scholars of religion have given this name. So that judge on that day, the day of judgment in which we now live, will be a man. For only a man can judge rightly between man and man, because their nature is alike. Anything other than a man cannot judge our affairs, nor guide us in the right way that we will be successful. It's got to be a man. That's when is the day of resurrection. This is the day of resurrection. You're living in it. When is the doom coming? When will be it taking place? Don't hurry for that day, because you're living in it now. The days of the judgment of God upon the wicked and the correction and separating the righteous from the wicked, according to many of the scholars on this subject, would be something like near 20 years. That time would be between 1380 and 1400 of the Arab terror. And of their scientists, which knows more about Scripture than the Christian could ever dream of. We know are living near these days, the dreadful days of judgment, the end of the judgment, the end of those years now approaches us. We cannot say to you that which we do not know. Less time will prove us liars. God has said to me that the time has long passed thee for the execution of the wicked enemy who have misled the whole.
The time of the execution of the judgment upon the devil, his time expired in 1914. The time for it is long past due. You have been granted grace for my birth, for my resurrection, for my being able to come and speak with you, to give you a chance to save yourself. The devils have deceived you about Allah and who God really is. You don't even know the meaning of it. It wasn't meant for you to know the meaning of it until the end. And it wasn't meant for me to know it until it was time to bring an end to this world as like Noah and Lot. So I'm here to make it all known to you, whether you believe it or whether you don't. Allah didn't hold me accountable to force you to believe anything. I want to say that I was a little premature in starting, but not mentioning how wonderful a job that the believers did for preparing the meeting hall for us, and how wonderful it was that the station management and those who engineer up there, how they helped us to put on Savior's Day at a minimal cost. And we thank them. Believers, you did a wonderful job of decorating the place. I felt kind of important walking in there. It reminded me of one of them correspondence dinners that they have for presidents. Tables was all laid out real nice. Everything was just decked out nice. Made me not want to leave. But all praise is due to Allah. So I want to hit them fans there. I want to thank them again. Thank all of you again. We are thankful for those our guests who came to visit with us. We always welcome you to come to our Savior's Day conventions. They seem to be getting bigger and bigger, and I'm thankful. But the main thing is that I don't ever want you to think that I'm just just happy over a crowd. I'm happy if one person come to here. You know, I already know that the majority of the people is not prophesied while this world exists. When you read in Revelation about a number that no man could number, that's after the destruction of the wicked and this present world. And you know, Solomon and Muhammad both agreed that they saw one man in 1,000 being saved. Yeah, how many for hell? Prophet Muhammad said 999 out of every 1,000. Yeah, that's so. You know, I'm here to offer you salvation. Salvation is to be brought out of misunderstanding of the Word of God into the true understanding of it. And so I'm going to teach you today the meaning of the acronym God, because most of us, we never even thought, just like we talked about POTUS, and you know, we say the POTUS, and most of the time they just say POTUS, but the proper statement would be the POTUS, the SCOTUS, the FLOTUS, because you're always talking about one person in particular that is occupying a particular office, or that title particularly fits at this particular time. Do you understand? You don't just say President of the United States, you say the President of the United States, the Supreme Court of the United States, the First Lady of the United States. And so in Arabic, they don't just say God, they say the God, Allah, you see. And they got a little closer than you do. As the messenger said, they knows more about scripture than the Christian ever dreamed. The Western Hemisphere did not produce any scriptures. The scriptures came from the east to the west, as the lightning shineth from the east even unto the west. Do you understand? Well, since the scriptures came from the east and went down in the west, now they over here in the west, the Son of Man, who the scripture was supposed to rise up in, was brought from the east and buried over here in the west under a pile of rubbish. You know, when somebody talk foolishness to you, they talking rubbish. That's what old people used to say. Hey, boy, I ain't doing nothing, talking some rubbish. And when you start telling me that God's plan for my salvation was for us to murder a righteous man, you talking rubbish as far as I'm concerned. God don't plan to save my life by committing murder and telling me to do it. In order to believe something like that, I had to be kind of crazy if I believed that, you know. And so that's why people call the people who believe that, they call them cretins. You got to be an idiot to believe that God's plan for salvation would be murder. So it's time now that you know the truth. You have been deceived. The whole world have been deceived by the devil. That was the appointment. Well, why appoint that? Why to make the plan for everybody to be dead spiritually? Now let's find that. If for it is appointed once unto men to die. Where's that at? In the Hebrews, the book of Hebrews. That is Paul's letter to the Hebrews. In the 9th chapter of the book of Hebrews. And it is the 27th verse. But now that in order to really understand what this is talking about, you have to go to the 1st chapter of Genesis. Now, as you go to the 1st chapter of Genesis, then, see, I'm getting all these chapters together so that I can, it's like spelling words. Even though you have the alphabet in chronological order, in order to use the alphabet for what it was written, for what it was meant for, you have to know how to rightly divide them to spell words and to write sentences and paragraphs and pages and books. Do you understand? Okay. So now you got Hebrews, the 9th chapter, Genesis, the 1st chapter, 1 Corinthians, the 15th chapter. And you got to hold on to all of these. Now, in the first chapter of Genesis, in the 26th verse, it says, and God said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him. Now, when the God's name at that time that was talking, his name was Jacob. Jacob, he got followers. He promised them wealth, and he promised them that if they obeyed him, he would make others serve them. You always got some people who want slaves. They would like somebody to do all the work for them. These was all black people, by the way. So you know, we got lots of lazy people. They'll get on, sit down, and help you eat, and then you have them clean up. Help you clean up and say, I ain't got time. Is that right? Well, that's the truth. I mean, we'd all sit down at the table and eat, and mama said, go wash the dishes. Shoot, I don't want to wash no dishes. If you leave it up to you, the house will stay nasty. But anyway, so Jacob, he had in his mind to make a people, make some devils. And he started off with a devil's idea, you know, which was to enslave others, to take misadvantage of others. And so he knew that inside of us there was a weaker gene, a brown gene, as he called it. And he could graft that brown gene to its weakest, and it would be bleached out. Of course, Yaqub didn't live long enough to see even the first race of people, which was brown. But he left knowledge. He left instructions. That's where the image came in our image, after our likeness. That's what books are. They are images. When you open the book up, you see images that represent words. Is that right? Now, we're not speaking to you in a vacuum here. Anybody who disagrees with me, you're welcome to come in here and I'll listen to you. Tell me what I got wrong. See, as the messenger told you that we always have a place for you to argue if you want to come in here and argue. We ain't got no. We're not standing up fearfully speaking. We are standing up boldly speaking. Allah have not given us the spirit of fear, but of boldness. So God created man. God taught man. That's what that's talking about. In his own image. Yes. In the knowledge, you know that they still teach you when you get taught out of an image, out of books. Is that right? And it says, in the image of God created he him, taught he him. Male and female created or taught he them. And God blessed them. And God said unto them, be fruitful and multiply, and replenish the earth and subdue it. Now, if he taught him to subdue it, he gave him knowledge of how to make weapons and that kind of thing. That's why I say I created the smith. Huh? Why? Because he gonna need some. If he gonna subdue the earth, he got to have a means to do so. He's weak. He got to go over there. If that lion won't do what he want him to do, he make him an instrument to make that lion do what he want him to do. Huh? Yeah. So he gave him knowledge. He blessed him and told him to go forth and be fruitful and multiply. Yes. That's why everywhere he goes, he had him an empire. They still believe in empires. That's why they got America as an empire. They got a state building there. They call it the Empire State Building. And you never gave it no thought. But it's time now that the truth be told. And because you're at the end of this world. So he was told to have dominion, subdue it. So they have been kings. Vie means to compete. They have been competing. White people are the only one that's been competing on who's going to be in charge. And see, he listening. If I got it wrong, he'd say something. He don't like the fact, because he's a racist. He thinks his color. He's just, he thinks his color makes him great. And color ain't got nothing to do with greatness. But anyway, as you looked at what had been going on the planet, there was two superpowers, and the last, at the end, now you living in the lap of the main one. The USSR used to be the superpower, but they had the US and the, Gog and Magog. But now the last one is America, and they wind up, with the whole thing. But when they said all things was under them, now they found out it was with the exception of him who put everything under them. See, that's what's written. But let's get to these scriptures here that I brought up. I don't want to teach that subject. I want to teach this other subject here. And so, remember the scripture says in this 6th chapter of Revelation, around the 8th verse, I think it is, it says, I beheld a pale horse, and his name that sat upon him was what? Was called Death. And what followed with him? Misunderstanding followed with him. That's right. The man that wanders out of the way of understanding shall remain where? So when you running around here worshiping religions that didn't come from God, but they was made up, then you are in your misunderstanding. They used to call the grave Sheol. Sheol is another name for hell. Now, what do you put dead people? You put them in the grave. Is that right? You put them in hell. Is that right? And if you don't think, if that wasn't true physically, then it would not be true spiritually. When you don't understand how to manage your affairs in life, period, whether it's to handle your bills, your house note, and all of that, then you wind up in hell. I didn't hear you. Yes, that's hell, ain't it? You ain't got no peace. No matter what you get, it ain't enough to deal with what you got to deal with, because you don't have the knowledge of understanding of how to use your resources. And so you wind up in hell. So it says that they let them have dominion. It says, and God blessed them, this is the 28th verse, and said unto them, be fruitful and multiply, and replenish the earth, and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over every living thing that moveth. Are we living things? Well, then he had to have dominion over us too, didn't he? So then, in the book of Hebrews, not Hebrews, in the book of Corinthians, 1 Corinthians, but first let's get the name right. In the 5th chapter of Genesis, it tells you their name. Don't tell you his name, it tells you their name. Have to make sure you understand that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad told you the truth. He said the white race is the Adamic race. They are the Adam that the book was talking about. Do you understand? It wasn't talking about one man, it was talking about one particular people. All right. This is the 5th chapter of Genesis. It says, this is the book of the generations of Adam. In the day that God created man, in the likeness of God made he him. Male and female created he them and blessed them and called their name Adam. Huh? And if they had dominion over everybody and subdued everybody, well, then let's see what happened in that subduing, since they was appointed to do that. It says in the 15th chapter of Genesis, it says in the 21st verse, the 15th chapter of 1 Corinthians, in the 21st verse, it says, for since by man came death, by man came also the resurrection of the dead. For as in Adam, all did what? All died. Then Adam is the man of sin. The messenger told you the white man is the devil. Didn't he? And what did you say he was teaching? Come on, don't lie. I know what you said. I was there. Just like Michael Cohen. Michael Cohen was there. He know what they said. Huh? And he was there saying it with them. I remember I used to say, look, when somebody tried to come to me talking about white people, I said, look, man, if you cut the white man, his blood is red just like the black man. So I don't want to hear that. And that generally shut people up talking to me. But when I heard the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and he began to open my mind to spiritual truths, then I defeated my own argument. Red blood don't make nobody your brother. The dog got red blood. A horse got red blood. A cow, a fly. Everything's blood is red. So you say Vulcans don't have red blood, they got green. You've been looking at too much TV, boy. That's a one-eyed liar there. The one-eyed liar don't just mean a man who only have a spiritual mind. It means the television. Then can you see Superman fly? I said, didn't you see it? Yes. Well, then, it's a one-eyed liar. You know good well ain't no man flying, but there it is. And they even show you how they make it happen so that you can't later on go wait about, well, he did. No, the white man, he's showing you now at the end of his movies now, he'll even show you how they put strings on them and make them do what he want them to do and that kind of thing. So that's what time it is. Now, so as in Adam, all died. Well, then since Adam was given dominion over everything, now turn to Hebrews. And as it is appointed unto men once to die. That's it, ain't it? Because they're going to give Adam dominion, huh? And Adam gonna deceive everybody, right? And Adam gonna misteach people about the word of God, ain't he? And that's what he been doing, ain't he? So as it is appointed once unto men to die, but after this spiritual death is the judgment. What is that? Is the truth. The truth comes now. That's why the Holy Quran says, say, the truth has come. And falsehood must vanish. I didn't hear you. Do you not see that I am steadily growing and giving you more and more and more? Of the increase of his government and peace, there shall be no end. The messenger told me, he said, son of man, in the hereafter, there's not going to be no end to your wisdom. Okay. I bear him witness. Just like I figured out that God is a acronym too. And it's not something that we just say. We know what we're saying. And it's proper to call it, to use the term the God. Well, that's true. This is now, do you understand what the appointment for death was? Everybody understand that now, right? Okay. When the devil was made, when Adam was given dominion, it was appointed for all of us to die. Die not unless you are submitting ones. Huh? When somebody subdue you, they force you to submit. Is that right? Yeah. He overpowered us. Even up until now. If I wasn't standing up here teaching you, the white man would still be the king in religion. He had you worshiping his things. You thought you was worshiping God when you was actually worshiping the devil. Well, that's the truth. That's why you notice Satan don't cast out Satan. That's why you could have all these religions and all of them coexisting with each other. That's like cancer. Cancer is a community of viruses that they are different, but they all living together. They're getting along. Can't we all get along? They just all there getting along with each other, destroying their host. And look at you. Everybody who has that orthodox, I'm going to start at home here. But the book says the judgment of God, the time has come that the judgment must begin at the house of God. So the first ones I condemned is them who call themselves practicing Islam with the false representation of what Islam is. Islam is not a religion that people practice terrorism and murder and then holler God is great while they murdering people. That's not Islam. That's the will of the devil. Then what's the difference in that and the Ku Klux Christian Knights of the Ku Klux Klan? All you murderers out there. This the end of you. Now, I tell you what you can do. You can either let that corrupt mind that you have be changed or go down with it. But you're not going to proceed any further. That's why I like that song that man wrote. Michael McDonald. He got the right name, Michael McDonald, and Kenny Loggins. Huh? This is it. Your back is to the corner. I got you cornered. You can't open your mouth to argue with me. So high you can't get over it. So low you can't get under it. So wide you can't go around it. So the only thing you got now, you got to either come through me or that's the end of you. Your back is to the corner. This is it. Don't be a fool anymore. You was told to wait on the Lord. Well, now the waiting is over. As the messenger said, the prophet said, thus saith the Lord. And he said, I say, here is the Lord. The waiting is over. I am the Lord, and I am here. There's no more waiting. Nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. Huh? No time for wondering why. Why now? Why now? There ain't no time to be wondering why now. At a time when you think not and look not for him, what? The Son of Man cometh. It's here. The moment is now. About to decide. You got a decision to make. It's the day of decision. Then it tells me, they all of it admonishes me. It said, let them either believe in you or leave them behind. Yeah. And that don't just go for me. Let your loved ones, your wife, your husband, your son, your daughter, let them believe or leave them behind. You are in a day of learning. If you do not learn, you are what? Let them believe in the Son of Man or leave them behind. But keep me near and in your heart. And if you do that, know that whatever you do, I'll be right there by your side. You say maybe it's over. Only if you want it to be. Yeah. Them boys wrote a song now. That song just as timely, or I should say as timeless as the battle hymn of the Republic. Sure as I tell you. Now, so you see, this is the judgment now. You've already died. Well, now I am the resurrection and the life. I'm here to make everybody know that they have been lied to and that they have been worshiping the devil, thinking that they was worshiping God. All your religions ain't nothing but is equivalent to a dump yard, a pile of filthy rags. That's what your religions amount to. That's what you turn the Bible into. That's what you turn the Holy Quran into, a filthy rag. You know what happened if you take a wolf and put some sheep's clothes on him? You put a nice wool suit on a wolf, and you get through with it, and gonna come away smelling like him? Huh? It's gonna be all nastied up, ain't it? Look how you done made the scriptures nasty, and every time somebody read them, instead of quoting God, they start quoting what you said about it. The scripture said, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. You come away to my God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, that whosoever believes he died for them shall have everlasting life. I ain't read that nowhere. That's just a lie you've been telling. I think one of the reverends got mad at me when I told him. I said, Jesus ain't coming here to die for you. Didn't come here to die for nobody. Matter of fact, he fussed at him. He said, did not Moses give you the law? Then why none of you keep it? Why are you going around trying to kill me? Then they lied to me. Yeah, we were trying to kill you. You got a devil, man. Yeah. You know, whenever that was their way of saying you was insane. So I want you to know the truth. It is, you know, when it's amazing to me how people can, on the one hand, see crookedness, and then they go along with it until somebody who was crooked repent. Then they want to jump on the one who repent. Huh? Now, if you, I was thinking about this Donald Trump standing up telling people he knew all the best people. And he picked all the best people. But they didn't believe me because I was telling them what the best people meant. I told them what draining the swamp meant. And he fulfilled what I done. And I also told him about that standing up calling people Islamic terrorists. He paying for that now. You know, whether you believe I'm the Lord God or not, if I tell you to stop doing something, you better stop. Stupid. If anybody should know that, white people should know it. Because when they were ruling, if they told you to stop doing something, you better stop it. Or they send their officers after you. They had officers that didn't even have to get no special orders. They already had their marching orders. Likewise, the forces of nature already had their marching orders when I tell you what to do. Now you don't do it, I'll see you again. I'm not here to beg you, and I'm not here to be frightened by you. The scripture said you be frightened by me. So I gotta let you see these things, because now where they was, as the messenger said, he said, breaking them up with confusion, making them now to fight each other. Huh? I told you think you gonna fight me? No, the very one that you turn on me for, that's who's gonna be your enemy in the end. You mark my words. I'll fix you. I told you I was gonna fix you. I'm gonna fix every one of you that unjustly hated me. You remember I told you you can't stop people from speaking ill of you. That's just the nature of most of the minds that's in this world. They are devils. But you can stop it from being true. Ain't that right? You heard me stand up here and ask the whole world, point out the evil that I did to you. The only thing you could ever accuse me of was caring about people that didn't give a damn about me. I spent my whole life adult doing what you see me doing right now. Since I was 22 years old. Working towards a brighter future for all people. And none of these people that live around me can claim that I'm not a good neighbor. I mind my own business. I don't go around jugging at nobody. I ain't tried to force nothing on nobody. Even though a lot of them was trying to force things on me. They want the freedom to choose how to live their life, but don't want to give me that same freedom. But I'm telling you, the worm done turned. So, as I was looking at Michael Cohen, he had sit there, here a man that supported Donald Trump in his lies and all of that stuff. He see where that got him. And he told them sycophants up there in the House of Representatives, in the Congress. Same thing that's happening to me is what's going to happen to you if you don't change. In so many words, he said, doing what you're doing is what's got me sitting right here. Blindly following up. Just close your eyes. You don't see no evil. You know, they call them monkeys. He don't see no evil, don't hear no evil, and don't speak no evil. What is that? He don't see the evil that's being done right in front of him. He refused to hear it, and he refused to speak out against it. And they made them monkeys. Huh? And don't tell me you don't believe that it's that's talking about people. Then if that ain't talking about people, what do you mean when I hear you say I tailed it out of there? You know what a monkey do when he running? his tail go up. He hightails it out of there. You're going to wish you had never said nothing in front of me. I told you I got a good memory for what my job is. I'm the last one you want to come in here trying to make it look like I'm somehow spinning something on you that ain't right. There's a whole lot of things I could say that I don't say because you ain't trying to put up no argument. But I got plenty more evidence I could put out to show that you are a liar, a hypocrite, a devil that thought didn't nobody see you. And I'm going to tell some of y'all that's with me, you better quit telling me you're going to do something and don't do it and think I done forgot what you told me. You're going to get enough of volunteering to lie to me. All right. So, because that's just something you say to placate me. That's what it is. You know, you know how people tell you something to get you out their face? Which in the first place, I was never in your face. You the one to come up to me and volunteer that lie. But when you know I know something that's done happen, you know that I done thought about it. So you tell me something to make me think I can just forget about it now. You do women like that. You ain't gonna do me like that. Women and babies. I'm neither one of them things. And I'm not going to run after you to try to get you to keep your word either. A Muslim's word, he's stuck with it. That's why we say it's bond. You don't have to run after him to get him to keep it. He ain't rest until he keep it. Anyway, now, I was going to let you, I think I want you to see something else here. Because I found it very interesting. You know, as they began oversight, we got time. I'm going to make sure that you understand that God is also an acronym. It means guard over the devil. Now, I want you to follow with me here. This is in chapter 72 of the Holy Quran. It's entitled the Jinn. The Jinn is another name for the devil. And this is fulfilling something about us and white people. This is the 6th verse. It says, and persons from among men used to seek refuge with persons from among the jinn. Huh? We used to go to church and the white pastors and even if it wasn't a white pastor, a black pastor that had been taught by white people, looking for guidance on how to serve God. Huh? It says, so they increased them in evil doing. Remember the jinn told, he said, I'm going to make evil fast seeming to them. So when you go to him to get him to teach you to serve God, he teach you to go murder somebody in the name of God. Huh? That we're going to kill the infidels. And then you look, do you know where faith is? Faith ain't in your flesh. Faith takes place in your mind. That's like somebody going to saying they're going to kill your flesh and they go burn down your house while you on vacation or something. I mean that all you did was burn down the house that the man had. You cannot kill an infidel with a bullet. The infidel is the mind that's in that person, and you can only kill infidelity with truth. When you back them into a corner and make them admit that like the man who came in here thinking he was an atheist. And I took it away from him right away by asking him, what do you mean when you say you don't believe in God? What is your understanding of God? See, that's the first thing you got to make sure of, is y'all speaking the same language. The man commenced to telling me about some supernatural being sitting out in space somewhere, controlling everything. And I said, I don't believe in that either. Then I opened up the book. And I said, this is the definition of God. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God. And the Word was God. My God is the truth. He said, well, you gave me something to think about. I know I gave him something to think about. I gave him to show him that you've been going, I don't believe in that stuff that they've been saying about God either. Because that wasn't no God at all. That was a lie that the devil convinced people of. Let not the arch deceiver deceive you about Allah. Like the messenger said, Allah is a man. The Word is with a man. Jesus, Moses, David, Solomon, all of them were gods. As the book says, I have said, ye are gods. Because the Word, God, was with them. The truth was with them. But they were all told to be my helpers and to bear me witness. Because I am the Lord of those lords, the King of those kings, the God of those gods. You notice everybody in a prison is a warden. That's a guard. If he's a guard, he's a warden. But there's a chief warden over all of them. Do you understand? Yeah, that's plain, ain't it? Yeah. Now let's go here. It says in the 7th verse, and they thought, as you think, that Allah would not raise anyone. They always think that, well, this ain't gonna be no more. Oh yeah, you hope, huh? Well, ain't gonna be no need for no more after me. That's for sure. It's written, there was no God before me, neither shall there be after me. Because even that which those who the word was with was called gods. The scripture teaches you that they told you that the word, the Spirit of the Lord was upon them. As you did it to them, that was me. As Jesus said, all mine belong to you, Son of Man. And all yours are mine, and all mine are yours. Huh? Now, I'm talking to the whole world, and ain't nobody saying a word. Now, ain't that something? Why you suppose they ain't saying nothing? Let him be your fear, and let him be your dread. You remember I told you that that tightness that you feel in your forehead was the only thing you was going to get? That's the only warning you was going to get for coming in here disrespecting me now that you know that it's something different about me. Just keep clowning. You're going to clown your last after a while. So it's written. Listen at this part real good. And we sought to reach heaven, but we found it filled with what? Strong guards. And what? Flames. That there. Now you got it. Now go back to Hebrews, the 1st chapter. It says in the Hebrews, the 1st chapter and the 6th verse, it says, and again, when he bringeth in the first what? The first begotten. Who is the first begotten? That's the original man. Huh? The first one. I am the first and the last. When he bringeth in the first begotten, you have to understand something. Before you can have a first begotten, you first got to have a man and a woman. Is that right? Well, the first, when you're trying to bring in a new mind, well, he started with the natural mind. The natural mind was the first Adam, the first man. The second, the last Adam was a spiritual mind. And from them two coming together, they could beget a new one. Do you understand? From them twain making one new flesh. And they twain shall be one. Huh? Yes. See, I'm the offspring of man. The son of man. Which man? First man Adam, last man Adam. I'm the offspring of them both. Do you understand? Now, look what it says. It says up there. And again, when he bringeth in the first begotten into the world, he saith, and let all the angels of God worship him. That's in the Holy Quran. It says, I'm going to create a mortal, and when I have made him complete and breathed into him of my spirit, fall down making obeisance to him. So the angels made obeisance. How many of them? Let all the angels of God worship him. Is that right? Then it says, and of the angels, speaking of the angels, he said, who maketh his angels what? The words that I speak unto you, they are angels. They are my angels. That's why the messenger told you, he said this one, he don't have to go get no carpenter's tool, just his word. And you start changing based on his word. Huh? And so it's written, who maketh his angels spirits and his ministers what? A flame of fire? We sought to reach heaven. Is that what they say? And found it filled with what kind of guards? Strong guards. And what? Flames of fire, huh? Okay. Then it goes on to say, but unto the Son, he saith, thy throne, O God. Huh? O guard over the devil. It is forever and ever. A scepter of righteousness is the scepter of thy kingdom. Well, that's a scepter is a form of a rod. Well, the rod is the word. My scepter is the scepter of righteousness. It's called Holy Scriptures, instruction in righteousness. And it says, thou hast loved righteousness and hated iniquity. Therefore, God, even thy God, hath anointed thee with the oil of gladness above all of the messengers before you. Yes, my fellows, as you did it to the least of these, my fellows, you did it unto me. Then it says, and thou, Lord, in the beginning hast laid the foundation of the earth. Did not truth lay the foundation for everything and bring it about? All right, then. And the heaven are the works of thine hands. That's right. They shall perish, but thou remainest. And they all shall wax old as doth a garment. And as a vesture shalt thou fold them up. And they shall be changed. But thou art the same, and thy years shall not fail. But to which of the angels said he at any time, sit on my right hand until I make thine enemies thy footstool? Are they not all ministering spirits? You see them up here right now ministering unto you through me. Hereafter shall you see the book open, heaven open, and the angels of God being drawn up off the page and descending to you through the Son of Man. Huh? And it says, sent forth to minister for them who shall be heirs, inheritors of the salvation. If I didn't share the understanding of this with you, you would have never got it. Huh? Now, what did they find heaven filled with? Strong guards and flames. His ministers is flames. And they also are guards. The angels, the messengers, guarded the book. Well, when Jesus was speaking, why are you speaking to the people in parables? He said, because to you it is given, to them it shall not be given. Huh? Well, he guarded it, huh? It was a guarded and protected book. Who guarded the book? The ones that brought it. I remember the messenger when he was talking about Master Farad Muhammad. He said he never would just come out and just teach something plain. You always had to dig for the meaning of it. Huh? Why? Because a hint to the wise, a hint to the one that's pure in heart is sufficient. Then why are you opening up all this to everybody? Because that's what's prophesied that I would do. I'm not going against prophecy. I'm going by prophecy. I'm taking away your excuses. to see what you will choose. I love righteousness and hate evil. What about you? Now let's go further, because I don't want you to think that I made up this definition. And so when I told you that God is an acronym for guard over the devil, a guard over devils. As regards my servants, thou hast no authority over them except who? Such of them who follow you. Huh? But the messengers of God, they were the ones who had truth that guarded them against the devils and would guard anyone who would get behind them. What is it? Who is the guard of your body? Ain't it your head? And the guardian of the head is the mind. See, the head have a head. As the book said, the head of every man is Christ. They guarded you against the evils of the devil. And they told you that their head was coming. And to guard them who guarded you. Now, let's make sure you believe what I say. So in the 7th chapter of the Holy Quran and the 26th verse, it says, O children of Adam, we have indeed sent down to you clothing to cover your shame, and clothing for beauty, and clothing that does what? Guards against evil, that is the best. This is speaking of the messages of Allah, that they may be what? There again, the truth guards us against evil. Will you not then guard against evil? Will you not then to be able to guard against evil? We are offering you that which will guard you against evil. So it is not your will to accept it, and so you can guard yourself against evil? We have made, do you know what warden means? Warden means to guard. A warder is a guard, a guard. A warden is a guard. We have made none but angels wardens over the fire. Let's see. You know, we created the jinn of what kind of fire? What kind? Yeah. So we have to have a fire watch. So what the guard over the fire? Huh? Okay. Let's see here. Let me bring it up, because you're going to believe what I say. You ain't going to get away with talking about you don't believe it. Chapter 74. It says, let's start at there. In the 18th verse, it says, surely he reflected, meaning sit down and thought about it and determined. But may he be destroyed, how he determined. Setting up conceiving mischief. Huh? Planning evil against Allah. Again, may he be destroyed how he determined. That's what happened to Pharaoh, wasn't it? He gonna kill the firstborn of the children. Now they done found out why them people was taking them children from them people down on the southern border. Bunch of perverts. Raping the children. Molesting little children. Little nasty dogs. It says, then he looked, then he frowned and scowled. That's why it said, be not afraid of their looks. Then he turned back and was big-headed with pride. These 6 things doth the Lord hate. What's the first one? Mm-hmm. Then he said, this is not but magic from of old. This is not but the word of a mortal. Well, Allah said he's going to create a mortal. And so when I'm standing up here speaking, they think it's just me talking. You know, how many times you done heard me quoting scriptures and somebody called themselves arguing with me? They thought I was talking from me. You witnessed that. How many times have you witnessed it? And you said in your mind, do that not know that he arguing with God? Well, then it says, I will cast him into hell. Yes, hell is the promised place for all them that follow the jinn, follow the devil. I will cast him into hell. And what will make thee realize what hell is? Well, it leaves not and spares not. You know, when I remember Jesus said it like this. To him that hath, it shall be given. To him that hath not, it shall be taken from him even that which he seemeth to have. Huh? Yes, what is it? You got something you want to say?
Yes, Jesus is Greco-Roman.
Brother, I suggest you put your phone back on mute.
Are you the Son of Man? Am I speaking to the Son of Man?
Yes, this is the Son of Man. You have something you want to say? You got something you want to say or ask me?
From a tribe.
Say what?
The Son of Man descends from a tribe. What tribe do you descend?
Look. The Son of Man.
You're lying then.
Put him out. I ain't got time for that. And it says it leaves not and spares not. And it says it scorches the mortal. What's that thing? You know, certain things you've used that term before. That that burned me up. Huh? It scorches the mortal. Yeah, you notice while I'm reading the Holy Scriptures, he comes in here with what? Nothing, because what I'm reading scorching him. Do you understand? Then it says, over it are 19. And we have made none but angels, wardens, guards of the fire. And we have put him out of here. And put it on what you call it. You can tell his mind ain't right.
Q&A session started.
There you go. So it says, now let me tell you something else. This ain't gonna take but a minute. Whenever somebody come in your house and act like they got some authority to spout orders, you know they done lost their mind, right? You're a guest in your house and come in there talking like he's in authority. And then tell you that you don't do this to him, but while he's saying you don't do it to him, you're doing it to him. is that right? So, I mean, the man out his mind. But anyway,
has started.
so it says, and we have made none but angels wardens of the fire. And we have not made their number, but as a trial for those who disbelieve. But why made their number a trial for those who disbelieve? Because that number ain't really got nothing to do with the angels. It has to do with who's over the angels. Do you understand? And so when they meet with me, they are meeting with their judge, and they don't have the slightest clue that that's what's happening. Then it says that those we have not made their number, but as a trial for those who disbelieve, and that those, whenever you see a comma, you can also insert the word and. It says, and that those who those who have been given the book may be certain. Well, that's what this 19 was for, was so that you could be certain. Because that's what did Jesus say? When he, the Spirit of truth, is come, he will do what? Guide you into all truth. Well, if you get guided into all truth, then you are made certain, huh? Then it says, and those who believe may increase in faith. Well, the Son of Man is also the author and the finisher of the faith. Do you understand? You couldn't make yourself faithful. I had to make you faithful. Then it says, and that those who believe may increase in faith, and those who have been given the book and the believers may not doubt, and that those in whose heart is a disease and the disbelievers may say, what does Allah mean by this parable? Huh? Well, that's all they can do is say, what does Allah mean by it? Because they didn't accept what I gave them. Do you understand? When I'm the 19, that's my name. Over it or 19, Marvin Ahmed Muhammad. 19 letters in my name. And Allah put me here to give the believers, to strengthen their faith, and at the same time, the disbelievers, they don't forget. You know, all the angels obey me. We have made none but angels wardens of the fire. Well, who's the warden of the angels? You see, that's why it says, and we have not made their number, but as a trial for the disbelievers. You see, so I ain't worried about it. But anyway, so you see, the term God means the guard over the devil. Huh? You see? So that is a way of putting it that we now understand. And you see, we sent down clothing that may guard you against evil. Huh? Who's the author of evil? The devil. Guard you against your devils. It's the only thing that'll guard you against your devil is the truth. When you have your devils up there talking to you, then the truth guards you against them devils, and you are able to resist them. Is that right? So I know what I'm talking about. So all praise is due to Allah. Now I can show you this. See, like the foolish man that came in here a little while ago. You know, that's what people used to do to get me off of a subject that I was teaching on. You know, but, you know, I'm do you just like you're used to being done. when you was in class in this world. If you was in class and the teacher was teaching on one subject and you asked a question about another subject, they admonished you and kept on teaching what they was teaching. They didn't let you determine what direction the class is supposed to take. You see? But you got a fool sitting up out there thinking that, he can do what they used to get away with. I'm not going to let you get away with that kind of stuff no more. So, and at the same time, I can still admonish you without changing my subject. Do you understand? Okay. Now check this out.
Welcome back. The scene the whole world witnessed in front of the House Oversight Committee today would have rocked any other presidency to its core. Michael Cohen called Donald Trump a criminal, a fraud, and a racist, and suggested federal prosecutors may be putting a case together. From a legal standpoint, there are obvious open questions here. We will see what special counsel Robert Mueller does or doesn't do. We will see what, if anything, emerges from federal prosecutors in New York, maybe even from the New York State Attorney General. Action on any of these fronts could dramatically change Trump's presidency. But when it comes to the politics, it is still far from clear what effect, if any, a day like today will have. The charges from Cohen were absolutely explosive, no question. But were they actually surprising? This is one of the things that makes the Trump presidency so different from those that came before it. Most voters, including many of Trump's own supporters, already believed that Donald Trump had exceptionally low character even before he became president. In a 2016 exit poll, just 33% of voters said they considered Trump honest. 1 in 5 of his own voters considered him dishonest. Only 35% said he had the temperament to be president. Just 38% said he was even qualified for the office. In polling before the election, only 1/3 of Trump's voters said that Trump shared their values. 59% said they agreed that, quote, Trump talks in a way that appeals to bigotry. 44% said they considered him an out-and-out racist. Remember the Access Hollywood tape, Trump's comments about what he could get away with because he was famous. That tape played for the whole world to hear just weeks before the election. And yet here we are, by the slimmest of margins and with huge numbers of Americans convinced he was a lousy person, Donald Trump was still elected president. And well,
now, it's time that you know something else. This is in the 18th chapter of the book of Revelation. It says, and after these things, I saw another angel come down from heaven having great power. Knowledge is power. This is talking about the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And the earth was enlightened with his understanding, with his glory. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, not a fearful voice, but with a strong voice, saying, Babylon, baby London, USA, the great is fallen, is fallen. He even wrote a book called The Fall of America. And anybody that thinks America has not fallen needs to go back and check history out to see where America used to be and how America used to stand. They're even talking about it right now. He just said it. If any other presidency had this kind of thing, it would have been the end of it. Because America and Americans had a bottom on how low they would let a person that hold that office sink. But now it have become, the White House have become a bottomless pit. The Congress have become a bottomless, seemingly bottomless. Now I could either stand up here and ridicule them for it, or I could stand up here and try to help them get back up. And I chose to stand here and try to help them get back up. Most people thought the fall of America meant the destruction and doing away with it. No, it meant like a fallen woman. She may have used to been a queen, or used to be something great. And next thing you know, she out there walking up and down Sunset Strip, turning tricks. Look what they did with America in the voting or the political arena. Crooks got in there and turned America into a prostitute. How? I tell you how they did it. They readjusted the laws where super PACs could donate as much money as they want in the elections, thereby offering the American government up for sale. Did the American people vote on that? Or did people just slip it through there? You know, pimps and hustlers, they always they talk to the woman and tell her, look, why would you give it away when you could get paid for it? Some jailhouse logic. And then a little weak mind, go for it. So when they turn America into a whore for sale, there was a time when whatever you donated to campaigns in this country, it had a limit on it, and they had to know who you are and what's your agenda. In other words, who you are. Where does money come from? Huh? So Babylon has fallen. It's fallen. And look what it says now. He just said that and everybody knew that man wasn't qualified to be president if you went by historical reference. Huh? But what kind of people you got now? You got people that can't even hold an intelligent conversation. You saw an example just like this fellow that just came in here a little while ago. There's plenty of people like him out there. Disrespectful idiots. You come into an environment of respectability and you try to bring it down to the sewer. That's what Donald Trump did to the office of presidency. So much so till now everybody and his brother think they can run for president of the United States because the bar done been set so low. And if you were smart, you would put, as I said, you'd go on and put Joseph Biden in there and raise that bar back up. And when people talk about running for president, you would want to know how much do you know about politics? How much do you know about the political system that you want to be the head of? It'd be just like you want to replace me with somebody who ain't never been in no kind of followed nobody. I know where you're going to teach me how to follow when you ain't never been a follower yourself. Why you think Elijah had to come and prepare the way? I had to learn how to follow before I could lead. So as I was sitting here looking at what the man said, here this man done sit there and told you saw all that excess Hollywood tape where that man had I mean, Gary Hart got in trouble for just being on the boat with a woman. Raheem, what are you doing? He got in trouble just for being seen on a boat with a woman. That ended his candidacy. And now a man who gets out there and talks all up under women's clothes and got the most derogatory mouth, got a mouth that would be, if you wanted to compare it to something, it would be a sewer. And you put him as the president of the most powerful nation on earth. A draft dodger. Not someone who refused the draft. Not someone who exercised in his constitutional right to say, I don't believe in that and I'm not going. No, he refused the draft based on a lie. Who is that with their phone off mute, brother? So you put a coward in charge of the greatest military that ever existed. And you call me stupid? Who other than a coward would send people down to the military down to the border to help strip babies away from their mamas? You know, when I was over in with the I was in the Marines. I was in 3rd CAG, Combined Action Group. We was over there with the 101st Airborne. And it was a Combined Action Group there. I saw a lot of things, but I didn't meet no brothers in the Army that were cowards. I didn't meet no brothers or white boys in the Marine Corps that I considered to be cowards. It's an insult to them. Hear a man get in a... Do you know how much courage it takes to climb into the cockpit of a machine that's flying faster than sound? I think that, 2 or 3 times faster. When they say Mach 3, Mach 4, that's 3 times faster than sound travels, or 4 times. It takes courage to climb into something that's actually just a ball of fire with a cockpit. And you put a man like Donald Trump over those kind of courageous, those brave men You put a coward over them. That was very unjust on your part. Sitting up there musing about going to war against Argentina so he could get the oil down there. In other words, if one soldier, one Marine, or one airman died in that process, it would not. It would be unacceptable. Got those men in the Secret Service who done took their oaths to uphold and protect this nation and to protect its commander-in-chief, and you give them a commander-in-chief that's a coward, who only thinks about himself, don't care who he gets in trouble. You think I go around picking fights with people just because I know brothers would come to my aid? You don't even get to practice the teachings of righteousness until you get some authority. That's when you really need to practice do unto others as you'd have others do unto you. But no. And so the book says, and he cried mightily with a strong voice, Babylon the great is fallen. And then he repeats it because it's hard to believe. Yes, it's fallen and is become the habitation of devils. All of them, you hear people all the time when they hear Donald Trump speak something that should never fly out of a presidential candidate's mouth. They say it's refreshing to hear somebody say what's on their mind. Whereas people used to would have bit their tongue knowing that it's improper, try to fight against the worst angels of your character. Now people don't care no more. Just whatever they think they, use the F-bomb, don't make no difference. Just use it. Nobody cares no more. You have fallen and you have surrendered to your own evils, to your devils. And all Donald Trump did was help you to let them out. And then you got nerve enough to be standing up there bragging about how much better you feel now that you can really say what's in your wicked heart. And it's become the habitation of devils and the whole of every foul spirit, every foul kind of mind. And a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. Got more jails in America than any place on earth. They ain't rehabilitating nobody, reforming nobody. They producing criminals. For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. Anybody send goods and services over here to America, getting rich off of what America buys from them. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, that's me. Come out of her, my people, that you be not partakers of her sins, and that you receive not of her plagues. For her sins have reached unto heaven, adding in and taken out from the word of God. And God hath remembered her iniquities. Reward her even as she rewarded you, and double unto her, double according to her works. You notice, you seeing this right now. The very people, one of the main people that helped Donald Trump lie to the American people, now coming back confessing that he helped him lie. And he warned them other ones. You doing the very thing that is the cause of me sitting here right now. Blindly following Donald Trump. It's what got me in the shape I'm in right now. In so many words, telling him, look, if you don't want to be wound up where I am, you better get out from behind that man. Donald Trump ain't never gave a damn about America. You know, you lost all of you and lost your mind. The first thing that you should be very sure of before you put a man in the office of president of the United States, the main thing that you better get real sure about is that he loved this country. And I mean really loved this country to the point that he'd give his life for it. And if that's not what he feels in his heart, you cannot trust him to do what is best for this country. Why you think the scripture said if a man want to be over God's house, let him first rule his own house well? Because in order to be over all of the people of the earth, a man have to have not a businessman's mind, but a father's mind. What won't a father do for his family? Huh? Y'all better wake up. It ain't too late. Michael Cohen is showing you it ain't too late. And you hear people say, better late than never. Listen to this.
There's no evidence he has gained any support since becoming president. His numbers have been pretty stable. An approval rating that never really falls lower than somewhere in the high 30s, never really gets higher than the mid 40s, just like his support in the polls during the campaign. So yes, the kinds of things we heard today would probably have been ruinous for any past president. But what was shocking in the past may almost be expected in the Trump era. That's Hardball for now. All In with Chris Hayes starts right now.
Tonight on All In. You don't know him. I do. I sat next to this man for 10 years, and I watched his back. For the first time ever, Mr. Trump is a con man. Michael Cohen testified in public. Mr. Trump is a racist. Against his former boss. Mr. Trump is a cheat. From the Russian email hack, Trump knew from Roger Stone in advance about the WikiLeaks drop of emails. To the Trump Tower deal, Mr. Trump knew of and directed the Trump-Moscow negotiations throughout the campaign and lied about it. To what we still don't know. Is there any other wrongdoing or illegal act that you are aware of regarding Donald Trump that we haven't yet discussed today?
Yes, a historic day of testimony against the president.
You call Donald Trump a cheat. What would you call yourself?
A fool.
And the desperate Republican attempts to shut it down.
I'm responsible for your silliness because I did the same thing that you're doing now.
All In starts right now. Good evening from New York. I'm Chris Hayes. 2 months before reporting to federal prison to serve a 3-year sentence, the man the president has called a rat for cooperating with the Justice Department came before Congress, the American people, to paint what was a devastating portrait, frankly, of his former boss. In the first ever public testimony from a witness inside the president's inner circle, Michael Cohen pulled back the curtain on Trump world to reveal an operation built on lies, intimidation, and a number of potential crimes.
I am ashamed that I chose to take part in concealing Mr. Trump's illicit acts rather than listening to my own conscience. I am ashamed because I know what Mr. Trump is. He is a racist, he is a con man, and he is a cheat. I have done bad things, but I am not a bad man. I have fixed things, but I am no longer your fixer, Mr. Trump.
It was the most damning testimony against a sitting president since, well, probably John Dean incriminated Richard Nixon. And this despite Cohen's very real credibility issues. Among other charges, he pleaded guilty to lying under oath in previous congressional testimony.
You know, to talk about Michael Cohen's credibility is a farce. Here they done caught Donald Trump, and I mean, every time you look up, they've proven that he done lied. Then how are you saying now that Michael Cohen, in telling you that he been lying to you, you think it's a credibility problem with Michael Cohen? Donald Trump told him. He said he could shoot somebody out there on, what is that, Fifth Avenue or whatever, and he wouldn't lose no support. That's the one truth he told, because he knew who he was really being backed by. The Nazi Party, the Ku Klux Klan, all of those people who hate America. They here and wouldn't be able to do what they're doing in Russia. They wouldn't be able to do what they're doing even in Germany. They wouldn't be able to do what they're doing in France or no other place but America. They are given the right to believe as they want. If they want to believe that America is no good, they got the right to do that. If they want to believe in perpetuating racism, they got the right to do that. Where? In the very place that gave them that right, they would like to burn it down. Ain't that something? And too cowardly to come in here and have a civilized dialogue with me about what their problem is with black people, for instance. I mean, black people ain't done nothing to you. What? We don't have no army. We don't have no navy. We don't have no Air Force. We don't have no Marine Corps. We ain't got no weapons factories. We got nothing to hurt you with. And yet you the one with all of them things and accusing us of somehow being a threat to you. You lying coward. The only thing they got over you, black brother, is to frighten you. Answer me this. Have being afraid of white people ever stopped them from killing you? Then why are you still walking around scared of them? It didn't do you no good to be scared. You just well not to be scared. It don't help if you are. To hell with him. I'm not going to walk around afraid all the time. Can't kill me but once. And even then you can't do it if Allah don't let you. Maybe he'll let me see you fall dead in front of me. I done seen a lot of that. I done seen people disrespect me and wind up all kind of stuff happening to them. I done seen that. And if Allah can stop a Mack truck from running over me, he can sure stop a fool with a bullet and a gun in his hand from doing something to me if he want to. And all of you all that's walking around here scared of white people, if you join with me, Allah would take that fear out of you. You know, it's a wonderful thing when you can walk the earth and feel safe, even if you're in a jungle, because you know that the one who made that jungle and everything in it is with you. You hear people, they misquote, they say, yea, though I, no, yeah, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I don't fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. His rod is his word, and his staff is the ones who brought it, his angels. When the Son of Man shall come in his glory, and where the angels going to be? All of the holy angels with him, and they comfort me. They said, he said, look, I created the smith. I taught the blacksmith how to make all this stuff. And I made the iron that he put into the fire to draw out as a weapon. Now, have you thought about, Son of Man? Think about this. If all the iron is depleted from your bloodstream, you die. You suppose the iron is dead? I made that creature. I'm in charge of that creature. And no weapon that is formed against you shall prosper. Now you get on out there and do like I told you, and let me worry about them who want to hurt you. So there used to be getting on here huffing and puffing. Remind me of that story of the three little pigs. Old wolf standing there at the door, talking about how huff and puff and blow your house down. Huh? In the end, he got boiled to death, didn't he? Yeah. Let him run between it and boiling water. So I'm telling you, this is the day and time where every one of you, you can be black as tar or white as snow or any color in between. You can save yourself now by listening to me and accepting what I'm offering you. If you reject me, you already condemned. The only time you need a savior is when you already about to be destroyed. And I'm here to save you from that sinful mind that you carrying around with all them dirty and hateful thoughts in your head. Thinking that somehow flesh and blood is your enemy. All flesh and blood came from one source on this planet. Came from the black man. Which means all flesh and blood is family. the corrupt mind that you got. We put that in you so that we could produce the man that's standing here talking to you now. I'm offering you salvation. If you turn me down, you know how much you think you hate me? You're going to hate yourself 10 times more when you see what's about to happen to you.
One acknowledged his own limitations and tried to corroborate his claims about the president. To attack me every single time about taxes, I had no credibility. It's for exactly that reason that I spent the last week searching boxes in order to find the information that I did, so that you don't have to take my word for it. I don't want you to. I want you to look at the documents, and I want you to make your own decision. Among the documents Cohen submitted into evidence was this: a check for $35,000, apparently signed by the president himself, dated August 1st, 2017, while the president was in office, while he was president of these United States. Cohen says it was part of his reimbursement for the hush money paid to Stormy Daniels before the election. Now, let's be clear. That hush money payment was part of the criminal scheme to which Cohen has already pleaded guilty in federal court. A scheme that may well have helped Donald Trump get elected by suppressing information. And the check from the president puts the president sitting as the president while in the White House at the center of that continued scheme while serving as a chief executive of the U.S. government. Cohen also alleged that Donald Trump Jr. and Trump Organization CFO Alan Weisselberg were involved. Besides implicating the president in a conspiracy to violate election law, Cohen accused the president of a number of other crimes, including self-dealing in his charitable foundation, bank fraud, insurance fraud, and tax evasion, fudging his ethics filings under penalty of perjury. Cohen accused the president and his lawyers of suborning perjury by effectively urging him to lie to Congress and downplay his work on a project in Moscow throughout the campaign. Cohen also claimed the president had advanced knowledge from Roger Stone of WikiLeaks' first release in the summer of 2016. Mr. Stone told Mr. Trump that he had just gotten off the phone with Julian Assange, and then Mr. Assange told Mr. Stone that within a couple of days, there would be a massive dump of emails that would damage Hillary Clinton's campaign. How?
You remember when Donald Trump stood up there and said, I love WikiLeaks? You remember he said that? Now you see what it was he loved them for. Huh? WikiLeaks. I love WikiLeaks. Huh? All right.
We corroborate what you are saying. I don't know, but I suspect that the special counsel's office and other government agencies have the information that you're seeking. Cohen alleged a vast range of criminal conduct by the president, and that's just the stuff he's allowed to talk about. For all we know, there may be other incidents we haven't heard about yet that are already under investigation by federal prosecutors. When was the last communication with President Trump or someone acting on his behalf? I don't have the specific date, but it was a while ago. And what did he or his agent communicate to you? Unfortunately, this topic is actually something that's being investigated right now by the Southern District of New York, and I've been asked by them not to discuss and not to talk about these issues. Joining me now, two Democratic members of the House Oversight Committee who questioned Michael Cohen at today's hearing, Congressman Jimmy Raskin of Maryland and Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz of Florida. Congressman, I'll begin with you. A lot of testimony. We learned a lot of things. Some things we knew and were confirmed. Some were completely new pieces of information. What was your takeaway from today, Congresswoman?
Well, my takeaway from today, Chris, was that we've got a few more hearings that we have to convene with, particularly for starters, with President Trump's daughter and son-in-law, because Mr. Cohen's response to my question today about whether or not they could have been compromised prior to the election due to their involvement and lying about the Trump Tower deal certainly created more questions than answers. And we've got two of those three people who are literally working in the White House every single day. And it's essential that we get to the bottom of the deception and the corruption that appears to have taken place.
So just make sure I'm tracking this. You're saying John Jr., Ivanka, and Jared, you would like to see them before that committee?
I would.
Congressman Raskin, your takeaway from today?
Well, the president is a hands-on leader when it comes to his various schemes. And so he was directly involved in running the Moscow Trump Tower project. He was directly involved in writing checks and organizing checks for hush money payments that constituted illegal campaign finance contributions and expenditures. So I don't think the president's going to be able to run away from what we've learned about him. I mean, he was directly involved in all of the criminality that Mr. Cohen was discussing today. And he came off as a very powerful, effective witness precisely because he wasn't lying. He has no incentive to lie now, and he's unburdening himself after more than a decade of being involved with this web of propaganda and deceit that's the Trump campaign and the Trump presidency. So I think our Republican colleagues appear to be frantic and unhinged at many points. And, they kept talking about lying, but as I told Cohen, they weren't upset because he had lied to Congress about the president. They were upset because he stopped lying to Congress about the president, and I think that was very clear.
I want to ask you about a thing that I think it's a strange thing because it's something that we all know and have known for a while. It was sort of reintroduced in print today, which is that the president is, just as a matter of the public record, implicated in a criminal conspiracy to violate campaign finance law that has already resulted in a felony plea that has been sworn onto by the Southern District of New York, and the judge in that case, all of whom agree that there was a violation of a criminal violation of campaign finance law. Today, Michael Cohen comes out and shows a check the president wrote in August of his first year of office. Did that surprise you, Congresswoman?
It did surprise me to see the sort of stone cold evidence that President Trump did exactly the opposite of what he said, which he lied initially and said that he had not made any payments, knew nothing about the payments as a result of that interaction. And what was even more surprising, Chris, was that those payments and those discussions happened in the Oval Office. I mean, that was stunning. That was a stunning admission that in the midst of
as you could see, that that man ain't never had no respect for the office of president. It's just like with me. I got my own devils that I have to deal with. My own evil and weak thoughts. And the respect that I have for the position that I'm in helps me to control them devils. I mean, as you can, when you have your own issues to deal with, it makes you more tolerant and more compassionate to other people when you see them having to deal with issues. The one thing you notice about most men that get into that, most of the men who got into that office of presidents, President Obama went into that office with black hair. He came out 8 years later with gray hair. Stress, man. When you really care, that office aged everybody that got in there. That really cared. because you start to see a lot of things that you made promises about during the election. You start realizing that, hey, man, I can't do that. I ain't going to be able to do that. Do you understand? Because there was many things that had already, the nation had been committed to by your predecessor that you had to live up to keep the credibility and the notoriety of America strong. You understand? You don't just make deals and break them. The office of the president, there's never the absence of the president of the United States. Never. If something happened to the president and the vice president, the speaker of the house become president. Something happened to that, then the chain of command is always there. So that America is never without a president. That is to show continuity. And at the same time, whatever one president gives his word on, that's not just his word. That is the word of the United States of America. And he always has to take that into consideration when thinking about need to change this, or this was a bad deal. Then you don't just break it. You go back and you talk some more. And you try to figure out a way to undo it without being called an undependable business partner. America don't need that reputation. So, but that man don't care. He don't care about the reputation of America. And if you dig deep enough, it wouldn't surprise me at all if you found out that he's also got citizenship in Russia. Because it still haven't made any sense to me that his son, when asked what's his favorite city, he answered Moscow. I just don't. I mean, when I was a child, I went to Disneyland over in, I think it was Anaheim, California, the city of Anaheim. And even then, even though Disneyland was over there, if somebody had asked me what my favorite city was, I don't think I would have said Anaheim. How could he, as an adult, be asked what your favorite city is, and just out of his he said Moscow? Do you know how much time he would have been spending there to come to that answer? Something ain't right there. And you know, it all start to kind of, why was he running around accusing President Obama of not being an American citizen? Where did he get that idea from? Generally people that accuse you of things falsely, they're projecting. I mean, why would out of the blue he just start saying President Obama wasn't an American citizen? Maybe he's not being totally truthful with you about his citizenship. Need to look into that. I'm telling you something. You're gonna one day. I think I was looking at the television, and one man quoted, I don't forgot what the name of the show was, but he said, "The enemy of my enemy is my friend." And there was a old so-called, what's wrong, a so-called Orthodox Muslim who said that. And the man said, yeah, and the man who said that wound up getting his head chopped off. Huh? You sure it was Star Trek? Is that what Spock said to Captain Kirk? About the enemy of... The enemy of my enemy is my friend. That was a proverb by an Arab who also got killed, got his head chopped off by that same people that he thought was his friend. Let me tell you something. You believe in a democratic republic where the majority of the people rule who are in the representatives. No dictatorship is your friend. You see, that is what the dictatorial governments of this world, the only dictatorial one that would be your friend is me. And only your friend in the sense of showing you that I have a better way even than what you got there. Because I truly can. And I'm proving it. I can get everybody on the planet to agree that I'm telling you right. And I'm the only man who can do that. Because I'm the only man on this planet that actually knows what's right. Anyone who will talk to me and be forthcoming and be really, really civilized in the dialogue and will agree on facts, I can prove that I'm the only man who knows the right way to live on this planet. The right way is right here in the Word of God. It ain't hard to find. The right way have now been created. That's why everything else is evil. I make peace and create evil. That's just another way of saying until someone can establish the correct and only right way, then there is no way of evil. Because in order to say there's a way of evil, you have to point out what the way of good is. So by establishing the good, you create the evil. Do you understand? All right, let's get a little more of this testimony here.
President Trump running the country, what was he most worried about? Making sure that he reimbursed his lawyer, who he had, take a loan out on his house, cover up the deed for him, and you pay him back during this entire process, and while he's been lying about it as President of the United States. That was stunning to me.
Congressman, I want to play some testimony with Jerry Connolly, who's a colleague of yours, who I think elicited something entirely new. It was not in the plea that Michael Cohen entered into. I don't think we knew this. This is about whether the president, how and if the president's reviewed, he or his lawyers reviewed his congressional testimony. Take a listen.
So you had a conversation with the President of the United States about your pending testimony before the House Intelligence Committee. Is that correct?
That's correct. Which specific lawyers reviewed and edited your statement to Congress on the Moscow Tower negotiations, and did they make any changes to your statement? There were changes made, additions. Jay Sekulow, for one.
So now that's you there, Congressman Raskin. We should say that Jay Sekulow issued a denial It's a specific denial that the testimony that they changed anything having to do with the duration of the Moscow deal is false. He says today's testimony, Michael Cohen, that attorneys to the president edited or changed a statement to Congress to alter the duration of the Trump Tower Moscow negotiations is completely false. What's your reaction to Cohen's testimony, the president and his lawyers both talking to him, reviewing his testimony that we now know is false?
Well, the reason we were asking about it is because Michael Cohen is going to prison for lying to Congress about how long the president was involved in, his business negotiations for the Moscow Tower, and it was changed from apparently what was accurate, which was it went in, through most of the campaign, or at least until the summer, to January. And what we elicited from him is that the lawyers for the president, Jay Sekulow, I believe, was a personally retained lawyer, not a White House lawyer, and as well as possibly the White House lawyers reviewed and edited the testimony. So obviously, that's one of the many fruitful lines of inquiry that we need to pursue now. Was this changed by lawyers working for the president? How involved was the White House in that? And, there are a number of things like that that came up today, which are piquing our curiosity in a very strong way.
All right, Congressman Jamie Raskin and Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman-Schultz, thank you both after a very long day for making time for us this evening. Today's hearing, let's bring in MSNBC legal analyst Jill Wine-Banks and MSNBC legal analyst Nick Ackerman, who are both former assistant special Watergate prosecutors. Jill, let me start with you. Your expectations for today and where today surprised you?
I wasn't surprised today. I was found him to be a very credible and calm witness. And maybe I was a little surprised about how calm he remained under the constant deluge of attacks. I also was maybe a little surprised by how much documentation he had. When John Dean testified during Watergate, he was uncorroborated. We all now think about how he was corroborated by the tapes, but he didn't know that there were any tapes at the time he testified. He testified simply from memory. And in this case, we had actual documents, seeing the checks and seeing Donald Trump's signature, which looked exactly like it does when he signs legislation, that was a very dramatic moment for me. I think the identification of, as Congressman Raskin just said, lines of inquiry to be pursued was very dramatic. And also the number of crimes that were identified today. I mean, we knew about bank fraud, we knew about some of the campaign finance violations, but there were the foundation and the purchase of the painting and the ego that was involved in jacking up the price of that so that his would sell for the most amount of money. There were just a lot of crimes identified. So I think that there's a lot left to be pursued and investigated, both by Mueller and by the Congress in public.
I think the big issue here is his credibility, and I think he was extremely credible.
I was personally surprised by how credible and calm he seemed, honestly.
Absolutely, but if you look at what is the test of credibility, it's cross-examination. What did the Republicans do? They didn't ask him about the incidents involving Donald Trump. They asked him about, well, who paid for your lawyers? I mean, they never even touched one of the items that he brought up. I mean, what they did is they called him a friend of the Democrats on the committee. He wasn't testifying because he was a friend of the Democrats. He was testifying because he had been a friend and a confidant of Donald Trump for over 10 years.
Well, that's part of the weirdness of the whole setup, is that the more they berate the man's character, the worse it looks for the man that he worked for 10 years.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's sort of a Chinese finger cuffs.
Of course, they would ask you to believe that he lied, that he told the truth when he said he lied to Congress. But then they turn around and say, well, don't believe him when he said that his boss, Donald Trump, lied on a whole bunch of different occasions.
What do you think? We're going to talk about more of this, and then I'm going to come to you, Jill. But what do you think about what from the special counsel's perspective, we heard today and didn't hear?
I think it's what we didn't hear that's most important. I think what's really significant is that he kept away from a good part of the Russian investigation. We just got little snippets from the beginning relating to Trump Tower, relating to Roger Stone, and conversations with Julian Assange, which obviously are significant, but he didn't get into this whole area of whether he was really involved at the end, after Paul Manafort left, in trying to cover up the role of the Russian involvement in the entire campaign. Right. So that's the part we don't.
I don't usually get into their commentaries or whatnot, but I found the commentaries to be pretty accurate this time. That the man gave his testimony. The man, as what they was observing, they wasn't putting no spin on it from what I could see. It was just the Michael Cohen knowing Donald Trump for the past 10 years. And I'm going to tell you something else. The mere fact that none of those Republicans asked him any questions to try to make it look like he was lying about what he was saying about Donald Trump tells you that a lot of them were scared that something about them might come out. That's why they didn't go there. Don't you think it was strange that none of them asked him about none of that stuff that he was saying? Just going after him, trying to suggest that he's just a liar. Well, he had already confessed to lying to Congress once. So was he lying to Congress and lying about that he didn't lie to Congress? I mean, if he's lying, then he lied. He didn't lie to Congress. He just lied and said he lied to Congress. You see how they get caught in that? So, I mean, I'm pretty sure he knows things about a lot of them who were sitting up there asking him questions and about stuff that they had been discussing with Donald Trump that they had no business doing. So I told you, a bunch of crooks up there. All right, let's hear some more.
No, and the fact that that is still an open issue says to me, we're not going to be getting a report from Bob Mueller anytime soon.
That's an interesting point. There's also the fact, Jill, that when that Congressman Krishnamurti asked, are there other crimes that you know about that we haven't heard? He said, yep, sure are, but I can't tell you.
Yes, that was one of the dramatic moments and will show us that there is much more to come. I think going to his credibility, one of the things that said to me credibility was how controlled and careful he was in his testimony. He did not stretch the truth. When he thought that there was something exonerating, he said it. He said, I don't think that he would ever hit Melania. He was very careful. He didn't say, yes, he knew that those emails were from the Russians. He said he knew that they existed because I heard this conversation. Right. But he was very careful in saying exactly and only what he heard. So that's a sign of a very credible, well-prepared witness. And that was impressive to me and made me think that people will believe him.
In fact, he said a lot of things that were actually exculpatory to the president, that, about a tape in which he allegedly had abused his wife. I don't think it exists. About the infamous blackmail tape the Russians did. I don't think that exists. About did the president pay for abortions or medical procedures? I don't know. Not that
no, that's right.
He was not there saying, like, every fever dream you have about the evil of man is true. He in fact, knocking down numerous things, despite the fact that Republicans were knocking him about the head.
And that's right. And they're trying to make it like a big deal that this person, because he has pled guilty and committed crimes, shouldn't be believed. The fact of the matter is, this happens all the time. When I was a prosecutor, I had a guy who spent his whole life scheming and stealing and committed 9 murders. And I had a lot of people convicted on his testimony. And that's because, as Jill said, he had lots of corroborating evidence, documents, and other testimony. That's what's important.
One big takeaway, Alan Weissenberg, CFO of Trump Org.
Yes.
That guy's got some talking to do, because he got name dropped a lot by Michael Cohen as a guy who knows things even Michael Cohen doesn't. And I imagine we will be hearing more from him in some capacity, one way or the other. Jill Wine-Banks and Nick Ackerman, thank you both Much more to get through in the first public testimony of the president's former right-hand man, Michael Cohen, including Cohen's allegations the president is lying about some of the questions at the heart of the Mueller probe. We'll talk about that next.
World of Dan. Please.
I remember being in a room with Mr. Trump, probably in early June of 2016, when something peculiar happened. Don Trump Jr. came into the room and walked behind his father's desk, which in and of itself was unusual. People didn't just walk behind Mr. Trump's desk to talk to him. And I recall Don Jr. leaning over to his father and speaking in a low voice, which I could clearly hear, and saying, "The meeting is all set." And I remember Mr. Trump saying, "Okay, good, let me know." So I concluded that Don Jr. was referring to that June 2016 Trump Tower meeting about dirt on Hillary with the Russian representatives when he walked behind his dad's desk that day.
Michael Cohen, under oath, said today that he thinks Donald Trump knew ahead of time about the 2016 Trump Tower meeting, and his campaign expected a Russian government representative to share dirt on Hillary Clinton as part of the Kremlin's efforts to get Trump elected. That's not the only time today that Cohen linked the president to Russian election interference.
Mr. Trump knew from Roger Stone in advance about the WikiLeaks drop of emails. In July of 2016, days before the Democratic convention, I was in Mr. Trump's office when his secretary announced that Roger Stone was on the phone. Mr. Stone on the speakerphone. Mr. Stone told Mr. Trump that he had just gotten off the phone with Julian Assange, and that Mr. Assange told Mr. Stone that within a couple of days, there would be a massive dump of emails that would damage Hillary Clinton's campaign. Mr. Trump responded by stating to the effect, "Wouldn't that be great?"
Here to talk about what the president knew and when he knew it, Natasha Bertrand, staff writer of The Atlantic, and David Korn, The Washington.
See how all his lies now catching up with him? People are, what's that noise I hear in the background? Hey, look, y'all at the station, you need to get that background noise out of there. And I still hear it. You notice, Mr. Cohen, it's not what you call vindictive. He's just stating facts. He even refers to Donald Trump as Mr. Trump. Huh? And things that they asked him about hitting his wife and that kind of thing. He said, "No, I don't believe Mr. Trump ever did that." Huh? You see, the man is just stating facts that he know, and it's gonna be a lot of other things coming out. There ain't nothing there's nothing that's really going on in this world that's not eventually gonna be made known. You see? Now, I don't know why we getting all of a sudden we hearing all of this playback in the phone here, brothers, but I wish y'all would get it straight. Now, that's what I'm talking about right there. So now, we want you all to know that we're not as I told you, I don't need for white people to lose their country in order for me to have my own. I don't wish for America to be destroyed any more than as in the days of Jonah, when he went to Nineveh. God had to admonish him and told him, by showing him an example. And now you grieving over this gourd that grew up overnight and you benefited from it. And now you grieving that it's been dried up in one day. Said, but Nineveh been here for all of these years. And you want me to just destroy them, and it don't mean nothing to you. And Jonah understood that. You see, Allah didn't send me for the destruction of anybody's country. The scripture says the Son of Man came not to destroy men's lives, but to save them. Is that somebody out there we need to go check on? Oh, well, there's not any need for the destruction of anyone. Why don't you just change? I'm giving you the knowledge to justify and help you change. I mean, even you being the devil, you didn't make yourself the devil. We made you the devil. Do you honestly think that we made you and we can't deal with you? When you see how easy it is to deal with you, you're going to wish that you had to let me help you. When you truly understand that everything, don't you know that matter? If all matter was not a creature, if it wasn't alive, you couldn't order it to do nothing. You could not move this flesh and blood, this water, this earth, wind, water, fire, minerals. You couldn't move this matter around if it was not a creature. You couldn't even hold them together if they were not creatures. You will soon understand why it's written that when Allah, decrees a matter, he only says to it, be. And it is. Don't say that you wasn't offered a chance. You were offered a chance. I offered all of you a chance. I told you I forgive all of you, no matter what you did. Only thing you're going to be held accountable for is how did you conduct yourself after I spoke to you? Didn't I offer you $20,000 and my life if you can come in here and prove that I'm not the Son of Man? I didn't say if you come in here and throw insults at me. I don't want to hear that. I'm not going to hear that. It's just like when you go into federal court. If you know how to conduct yourself in the courts of this world, well, then I know you know how to conduct yourself when you in a court, period. When you go in the federal court, ain't no sense you going in there talking crazy to the judge. All the judge want to know is what of your constitutional rights, what in the law, what in the Constitution, which of your rights have been violated? And if you can show that the lower court violated your constitutional rights, the judge will sustain your motion and will set aside that verdict and will declare that they give you another trial. Yeah, a fool come in here earlier, and I call him just that, a fool. Come in here earlier trying to ask what tribe the Son of Man come from. He's a fool. In order to know what tribe the Son of Man would come from, you'd have to know who the Son of Man is. And no man knows who the Son of Man is. So how could you even possibly understand what tribe he would be from? You're a fool. You don't even refer to the Son of Man as being from a tribe. Because if he's from a tribe, he's not a new man. Oh, dummy. Yeah. You know, I'm here to have intelligent discourse with you, not to entertain your insults. I done got sick of your insults. And I've decided I'm not going to hear them no more. Which is a bad thing for you. You just don't know it yet. So those of you who, you notice in the discourse that I teach, the brother got me on the air on the internet. He'd have told me if we wasn't on. And you don't hear nobody in no foreign country or nowhere disrespecting me. The scripture teaches you that I would speak to you from the cradle of civilization when I got to be old, in old age and from the cradle. So, and because you don't pay attention, you still missing what's really going on here. So anyway, I'm going to leave it there. You heard Mr. Cohen give credible and honest testimony. Who better knows the criminal acts than people who was helping commit them? Huh? All right. Okay. Then I'm going to stop it right there. If it pleases Allah, we will teach you some more Friday. Now, as you know, God is an acronym also for guard over devils. Thou hast no authority over my servants except the deviators who follow you. You see, he ain't got no authority over us who guarding him. We the wardens of the fire. Do you understand? All right. So, well, I'm gonna let you go now. So may Allah bless us all, keep us safe, and in our right minds. May Allah's salam alaikum.